Oh, nope. There we go. Hello. Welcome to the Tabletop Call-In Show talk show. The Tabletop Call-In Show talk show is where we, Adam and Jeremy, hosts of the Tabletop Call-In Show, instead just talk to each other. Welcome to anybody who's in the chat. It looks like MV has arrived to say hello. I'm sure that there are others out there. Hello, it's great to see you. I'm Adam Bell. You can find me on Twitter at Adam E. Bell. You could find my games at adamebell.games if you wanted to. Jeremy, what's up? Who are you?
Hi, I'm Jeremy Gage. You can find me at Jeremy Gage 5 over on Twitter. You can listen to the Draw Your Dice podcast, where I interview people like Adam and probably many of the people tuning in today about their insights in tabletop game design, specifically the role-playing game space. But not only that, we talk about the business of game design as well to help you turn your hobby into a livelihood, which I would love for everyone to do what they love. And yeah, I'm here. I'm excited to talk to Adam. I'm here to even get engaged with the chat too. Bees knees that, quick shout out. Hello MV. Hello Jimmy. Hello Eli. Hello Delverino. Happy to see all of you here. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, great. So what are we talking about today, Jeremy? We don't know. That's why we're 2 minutes late, because we were like, wait, we should talk about what we're going to talk about, and then we landed on.
Hello Aaron.
We'll do it live.
Hello Will.
So I guess first thing I will write the things that I wrote down. The first thing I wanted to talk about was if you like this show, go watch Spencer talk about games with people on Sundays. Look at Spencer Campbell, Gila RPGs. Gila? Is it a
Gila,
monster?
yes. Gila RPGs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, however you pronounce that particular monster.
Gila monster.
Hey, Gila monster.
Bring on.
Yeah, I tuned in yesterday. He was talking with Dan Phipps of Gem Room Games. This is good stuff. So let's start with what games podcasts always start with. And by always, I mean, I'm sure a lot of them do. You played anything this week? You been up to anything?
Yeah, I've been playing. I have 2 campaigns going right now. One is using the Emberwind RPG, and the other is playing Band of Blades.
What?
What?
What the heck?
Listen, I'm trying. I'll have another campaign.
For those watching, Jeremy and I and a few other people once pretended like we were going to start a Band of Blades campaign, and then it certainly didn't happen. And now I'm hearing that Jeremy's got his own campaign.
Couldn't get together.
Out in space.
Come to DYD game night every Thursday in the server. We do stuff, not RPGs necessarily.
It's not Band of Blades.
It's not Band of Blades. Can't do pickup Band of Blades, unfortunately. But yeah, I've been playing those. I've been playing Emberwind for the tactical stuff and playing Band of Blades for because I want to fucking reach Skydagger Keep. So there's that.
Are you the GM here? Twice?
I am the GM. I was really inspired. We're doing sort of a reflavoring that everything is Gundam, because I watched both Gundam Hathaway and Gundam Unicorn, and I was like, this is Band of Blades. I get it now. I had no war reference things ever. I'm sorry. I didn't betray Adam. I apologize. We've talked about it so much. Just lighting me up in front of people. I'm pissed. But I was watching both of those Gundams, and I finally clicked. I was like, this is what Band of Blades is. All these fucking GMs and balls and Zakus are all the rookies and soldiers, and then the Gundams are your specialists / your elite zombie things. So they're like virus mechs, and the specialists are all Gundams and things. And yeah, it's a good time.
Cool. That does sound better than the default Sky Jim Jam Keep, because I don't know, the dark, gritty fantasy. What if everything sucked, and what if there were zombies?
Everything's fucking brutal.
Is a lot for me. I think I would do it, but I don't know. It's not
It
exciting.
sounds like you want to do it.
Well, I want to play the game.
Well, you feel betrayed.
Well, I didn't.
Playing the game and feeling betrayed are two different things.
Look. So, speaking of Forge of the Dark games, I did recently playtest my grid system, which has been rebranded as either the Tactical Storytelling Engine, or maybe I gotta find a better word than Forge for reasons, but the Story Forge. And what that is that I think I talked about it 2 weeks ago. The grid based resolution system where instead of rolling dice and looking at the numbers, we're slamming tokens. Just laughing at the chat. Slamming tokens on the board.
Will just laying into it.
And you're playing this tactical game, and I found it interesting. There's things that are going to be changing because it was like too much. As a GM, there was too much with the way I had it of like being in tactical game mode and then jumping out and having to like dole out consequences. And I'm like, shit, I got to switch to this other part of my brain, which is kind of how I felt every time I ever ran D&D. There's just like a lot of cognitive load on the GM to do a thing, and then they got to switch to do the story thing and back and forth. So I got to figure out how to smooth that over. But it was good.
Hey, if you want more cognitive load, look out for Umbral Dive coming to you in 2023.
Right, but the thing with that is, at least, the grid bit, you don't really have to go wild describing the combat because it is just happening on the board. You see it, and then you describe exactly what's happening on the board, whereas the mess I've found myself in is I'm making a fully abstract grid. That has nothing to do with physical space and nothing to do with what's actually happening. It's purely like, here is your influence, and you're taking each other's influence. I don't know. It's cool, and it's going to be good. But that leads me to the thing that I wanted to say, which is I started reading Court of Blades because I'm tired of Blades one-shots. Court of Blades is a Forge in the Dark game that was on Kickstarter a while back. I believe by a couple of Drakes. I think that's right. If anybody in the chat knows, that's great. But it's like you play as basically this group as part of there is a royal court thing happening, and you play as a group of errand people for one of the major houses. So it's all about like trying to advance your house through like to the throne or whatever. You're not like the rich, you're not the nobles, you're the random dickheads that like happen to be working for them. And it seems good. I've just got a little breakfast stuck in my throat. Sorry to the audience. I just want to not play, because I feel like once you've played a couple of Blades one-shots, Blades really gets cooking once you've played it for a little while with a group and like stories start emerging. The first heist is always just like, yeah, we're doing a heist. I'm not exactly married to what's happening here.
Action, resistance, setup, action, right. Resistance, roll.
Right, where's the heart? Where's the soul? Which will probably be true for any other Forge of the Dark one-shot, but at least it won't be the same. Yeah. So look out for that. That's probably, I probably mentioned this also, but that's probably going to be my Zine Quest go-to. Something nice, something easy. Grid-based, the tactical storytelling engine. Look out for it.
I'd like to have Umbral Dive ready for Zine Quest. If I don't change it 20 times every day.
Well, have you changed it since we last talked about it on here?
No. Well, yes and no. We're in Umbral Dive Mark 6. We're not in 0.06. We're in Mark 6. And fucking, I'm very pleased. It's taking a lot of inspiration from Uh, what I have decided to do is separate the grid in that there is a player side and an enemy side, and those things interact together instead of like being on the same tactical space. I think that's kind of unexplored terrain, and I am excited for it.
Yeah, what's up with that? So is it like you're gonna have to navigate to like the same school? I want to
Should
hear
I
more.
do I
I want to hear more.
do I need to share my screen?
Sure, yeah.
This is a visual storytelling medium, but if this ever goes into podcast mode, we're fucked.
Oh, it'll be on the podcast feed, and they'll have to go watch the VOD.
Yeah, I'll have to go watch the VOD. To anyone listening in podcast land, twitch.tv/AdamEBell for all of your VOD needs, and YouTube. How do I fuck it? All right, I'm going to share my screen. No, I want to share a window. Affinity Designer. No one can see my tabs.
Oh, jeez, this is gonna be a whole situation. It's
Should I change it
fine.
back? Is it
No,
Bad News Bears? It is bad.
well, here, let's get funny with it. Go back to your. Let me go back to your face.
Ah, we're doing it live.
Now it's three me's. Hi, everybody.
This is good.
um, so either let's just do it, and then there's just two of you.
All right. Pro tip: keep all of your sheets in a single Affinity Designer.
Yeah,
area.
I would never. Why do that when you can have a mess of a file structure?
So as you can see, I've made so many grids. I've just been playing with so much stuff. And what I settled on is this bad boy, beep, where essentially, where's my shape tool? Shape tool. We're gonna make this blue. That's people, and we'll make another one. Free Affinity Designer tutorial happening right now. So the idea is that you'll be playing on this board. Certain classes have like range restrictions, a la similar to like Darkest Dungeon and stuff like that. So for instance, if this person was your tank, they can only hit from like this row, position 1, as I have here, as you see, position 1 here. You might have a mage that can only hit from position 3, and there's a lot of like forced movement mechanics in the game. So like this I don't know, this void mage back here might like do like a black hole and force your mage to position 1, and so they have to now spend time moving back to position 3. And there'll be AoE stuff where like maybe this melee person can attack let's fucking do a goddamn rectangle here. We'll do a rotation.
So am I? Let me hop in real quick. Is this meant to be like how a lot of video game like JRPGs and stuff kind of cut to this turn-based thing, and you've got all the characters on the screen facing each other, and then they hit their buttons and do things?
Yeah.
Cool. So like if you're in position 1, you're saying like the tank is probably doing melee, and so they have to be up in the front, so that when the animation plays, they like zoop forward, swing their sword, and then zoop back, because that's how fighting works in this.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And like they'll also have ranges. Like this mage can only hit these positions, but this mage can't affect this person. There might also be like blocking stuff, or like if this enemy is in front of this one, the mage can't like shoot position 3. They have to shoot through 1, or something like that. There's a couple different things I'm playing with. And yeah. And then so when we talk about bosses, then I use this fucker over here, this compass looking thing.
Oh, jeez. We're doing radio.
Let me zoom in here. So I've also thought about like abstracting the boss out of this. There will be no unit, no enemy unit on this board. The boss is always considered the center space.
Mm.
And so if you're the tank, you still have to attack from circle 1. If you're the mage, you still have to fight from circle 3. But now you'll have more unique dodging mechanics, which are going to have like um, like the boss might have a 90-degree cone or something like that based on the position of the tank in position 1, because I've also figured out like aggro stuff. So if this tank is right here and it's 90 degrees, this let me see if I can fucking do the thing. uh yeah, let's just try that. uh no, that's more squares. The boss might affect this whole area, so this ally will also be hit, but this one will not because of the positioning of the tank. Get off the node tool because of the tank underneath here. And bada bing, bada boom. There might be more unique things, and this is still a grid. What's important about this that I like about this radial space is like this is still a grid, and so you can move 1 space, 2 space, things like that.
Yeah.
If you have an ability that's like an AoE, or like if ads were to spawn on the board, you could still attack the ads in your same AoE structures. Maybe the
Right.
tank has like a line attack that can hit like two squares over. Consider like all these spaces a square, right? So nothing really changes based on the form of the map.
Mm.
uh just that I can do a little bit more unique stuff with like boss mechanics. And then like there would be a big, let's see, like this is an example over here. There see, keep it all in one thing so you're ready.
Yeah. No, I mean,
uh
I joke, but keeping it in one thing is obviously way better.
uh like the boss sheet would be like just above the radial board, so like you could roll for attacks, you could see what patterns the boss has and its like health levels and things. And so all of that, the unit is abstracted out of the grid, which allows me more freedom to design interesting like
Mm.
AoE mechanics or positional mechanics, movement stuff. So I don't have to worry about like the positioning of the boss. I only have to worry about the vacuum of the players. And that's also how I've designed a lot of the damage abilities and stuff. So for instance, if I zoom in on Ifrit here, you can see that this Flame Rend ability applies light plus pressure. That's not a number, right? So like, how does that work? If then I go over to one of these fuckers, let's go to the Iron Devil. They're the
The
most
Iron
fleshed
Devil
out.
Mach 3.
I designed it in a vacuum so that I never have to balance a unit. I did not want to do like a monster manual situation where like this thing does 2d6 and this one does 8d6 and this one
Mm.
does fucking 48, and I don't care about that. So what I did is I gave each class a set of dice for different armor sets. So that last flame rend attack what did light plus damage. Essentially what that means is that the tank will roll 2d4 and take the highest amount of damage from that. um, and that way I only have to balance the class around their defensive damage rather than the monster's offensive abilities. So all tanks will have like 1d4, 1d6, 1d8 on heavy, but like a fucking the Void Weaver, which is a mage class, has 1d8 light. So they have different ranges of damage that both of these two classes can take. And I just like it. I just like that the player gets to roll their own damage. They get
Mm-hmm.
to have the fun of the click clacks, and it loosens the cognitive load of the GM in the sense that I don't have to worry about like having the right amount of dice or like find what I
Right.
need to find. And I can start pick. I can actually pick an encounter's patterns based on like, you know, a weaker enemy might have only light attacks, while a boss might have a light, medium, and heavy, and then like a really hard boss might have like 2 lights, 3 medium abilities, and like 2 heavy or last stand abilities or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's the grid stuff. That's the two grid things.
That's
I'm
cool.
gonna
And
unshare
by
this
having
now.
2 grids, you're a little bit opening up some design space where, like, you can make more grids.
Yeah. Well, I was
Because
like, okay,
right,
in this
people
is
are. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
you go ahead. You can't see me.
What? I was just gonna say people are already like, oh, okay. When the bosses come out, we're in radial coordinates. When it's just a regular
Hmm.
fight, it's this. So like, if you surprise them with, oh, there's this third type of fight or whatever, they're already primed
Hmm.
for it, and that's a cool place to be in
Yeah.
for you as a
Um,
designer.
and I like that I can fucking like print these back to back and just have them flip over. Like this is
Oh yeah.
dungeon skirmish mode, and then this is boss mode. Because uh, a lot of this is heavily taken from MMORPGs like Final Fantasy 14, World of Warcraft, Guild Wars, where like the boss is always in an arena in the dungeon. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think one thing that I struggle with D&D is that you try so hard to make the environment matter, but it ends up being like a 2D plane anyways. Not everyone. I'm sure there are people who like use terrain and line of sight stuff and they're like enemies on top of things. But a lot of time if you're going fast and loose, it's probably just like a 2D plane. So like you can still put the imagination on top of this 2D plane. And I can have like a taking hints from like Hyperlight Drifter RPG. They have a 3x3 tile board and um they have a lot of different like aesthetics for you. You have like a cave aesthetic and a field and like
Mm,
one has like a waterfall picture in it. So like you can sort of change up the feeling, but you don't have to change the way the environmental grid operates, which I was like, oh, interesting. I still get the sense of like role play in this space.
right. Yeah, and you could even like with that have environmental, like, oh, if you're fighting in the waterfall zone, like there's one special rule that happens every time you fight
Yeah,
at the
arena
waterfalls.
effects are totally thing, which is totally from Emberwind. One of my players is playing a class that has an arena ability called Transference. That whenever someone overheals or over damages anything,
Mm-hmm.
that player can redirect that extra damage or healing to another unit. And I was like, freeing. I was like, amazing. I could have like arena effects that bring the environment to life.
Yeah, yeah. It brings in a way that, like you're saying, that D&D just often with that grid-based stuff, unless you've got the big beautiful terrain and your table turns into something wild, or you're incredibly good at Roll20, which I don't know if anybody is. Um, that
Back.
that helps do that stuff a lot easier, which is rad. You're onto something yet again. You've made
I'm so
like
much gam.
you've made the skeleton so far of like 3 really cool games that I've seen. Which is nice because in the future, like whenever you finish the one that is there, you've just got this boneyard of tech that like could be a jumpstart for your next project. Like if you're ever like, man, maybe I should go back to the hex grid. You've got
Hex
you've
grid.
you've got tech for it, which
I'm
is
trying to
rad.
think about point crawl battle mats.
What's this face?
Fucking point crawl, dude.
Uh-huh. Think about it.
Yeah, think about it. Anyways, that's my shit. How's
Cool.
uh how's getting grasping nettles together? Because I saw that people can pre-order it.
Well, that's been true. I just haven't promoted it. But yes, people could pre-order Grasping Nettles if they want. Go to my Twitter. If you can get to my, I forget how Ko-Fi.
Ko-Fi.
I'm using a Ko-Fi shop, um, to do pre-orders, and then I'll also be doing that to collect shipping money from everybody. But yeah, if you missed Kickstarter, go for it. Maybe I can tell you about it. Show you where it is now with permission. Can I show the? Okay, I'm getting nods.
from
From
from the art
Sasha,
team.
the artist. Yeah. Let me
Show us
pull.
this beautiful book.
It's looking good, I gotta say. Let me figure out how to do this. Screen sharing. Hey, let me put you back on
Hey.
the screen. Well, that's not you. There you are. Perfect. I can embiggen myself. Just doing some live production here. Don't mind me.
Embiggen.
It's a real word, probably. Is it?
It is.
It should be. So it's good. Okay,
So
we are
many Final Fantasy streamers.
we are here. Grasping Nettles, a generational storytelling game with building worlds and dealing with its problems through generations. So the cover is still sort of a work in progress. There will be color at some point, I think. Hopefully soon. Maybe even today. But like
Checking with the art team again.
Last I heard, there will be color. It's going to be printed on like a yellow. The actual paper will be yellow, and then the leaves are going to get greened up. But here's the design of the cover. I think it looks rad. But yeah, we could just take some strolls through what this book's gonna look like. Which, like, obviously it's not done yet. There's still some washi tape scans. that's not permanent.
Little Easter egg.
Yeah, if you don't know what the game's about, this is the wheel. That's like the main interface of the game. You're gonna have pieces that are moving around this board, and on your turn you roll a die. You move one of the pieces to one of the spaces, and then you just do the thing. So, like, if you move a piece to the faction space, you're gonna create a new faction. And that is, I played it actually this weekend. A couple of friends wanted to play a game, and so one said, "Hey, don't you have one that works for 3 people?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, I should play this again because I haven't played it since the Kickstarter. I don't think." And it's still good. Look out for it. Here's all the actions. This spread might change because it's the same art here. It's all a matter of. This isn't one of these things that I'm fine with it being the same spread design, but I'm hearing that maybe we'll get a new spread, so they're unique here.
From the art team.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about time.
I love it. I love the art team is in the
room. We're hoping to get this like out and started printing this month. So that spread might not change because the time is drawing near. We're halfway through November. But yeah, I think it looks really nice. This is a table of contents for the quick Nettles. This is going to be like just settings that you can jump right into. If you don't feel like building a world from scratch, you can hop in with a quick Nettle. And those are written by some talented people, like perhaps you, Jeremy. Here's a sneak peek at your quick Nettle called Cemetery. We've got one by MV about sentient plants floating in a mech in space. A.E. Jonesy with the Villa of Orman. This one was really cool. There's 2 more that are on their way. I trimmed some words out, so I might be throwing my own in as well. I haven't decided. But yeah. I'm excited about it. I got the wheel as end paper. I think that's funny. So look out for that.
And you're gonna try to
soon.
do like a doily?
It would be cool if it was a doily. I am working on screen printing this wheel so that you can have you could buy this cloth version of the wheel that will have all of this screen printed, and then my plan is to hopefully have just this exact square screen printed on the back, so you can like wrap it around the book while you're not using it and have like look this cloth little square that has the cover, and then you open it and it's the thing you play with. But I was waiting until the cover was done to start fully screen printing, because I can use the same screen for both, and that would be ideal.
Me and Adam are all about material tech. We're talking a lot about it. Cutting up paper, origami character sheets. I just made it up right now, but I said it, and now I think it's an awesome idea.
The character sheet thing?
Origami character sheets.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking bonkers.
You have to fold it in different. You have to fold it in different ways, and what happens? Only the stuff
Your
showing
character
is
class determines the shape.
active.
You can see all your like little abilities on the different panels.
Well, I'm thinking there has to be multiple different folding ways of any given character sheet, and so you have to refold it to get into combat mode.
You don't refold origami. It's a one
We
and done.
we make nice paper here, and you refold
We,
it. There's no
there's a lot of
ripping.
heavy creasing that has to go into origami making.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I tried to make a cool mechanic, and you told me it's not physically possible here.
So now, out of spite and betrayal, you have to do the thing.
Yep. Let's see what else is going on. I did yesterday. I was like, I really do want to make a card game, and so I started another game design. It's a problem. I just want to make a card game. I haven't actually caught up in the chat a little bit. Ooh.
There's so much good stuff. Our chat is just bonkers today. I'm happy for everyone that came out here. You started Jimmy Shelter's career in indie tabletop.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. You did too. You were on that stream.
I was on that stream.
You are. Easy. It all comes back to
our sweet firefighters. Our sweet firefighters.
When we played the other day, when I played with some friends, we did. What if when they did the moon landings, they set up they lived there, set up a moon base, and so that was pretty fun. And then when it came time to jump generations, and I think I might have to add some guidance for this to encourage this. We skipped forward 100 years, so it went from the 1970s weirdos on the moon to like 2070s there's still people on the moon, but also it's the future, and that changed it so much, like to be able to just jump 100 years into the future instead of the standard like, oh okay, because a generation, if you're not being like, a moon colony is going to be repopulated by new astronauts showing up, so a generation there is probably in like 5 years, and we're like, fuck that, let's just see the future.
Yeah, if there was something that like decided how many years in the future, or was like a suggestion, right?
Yeah, well, I just
10 years in the future.
I think I was intentionally leaving it vague, but I think just pointing out, like, have a conversation about what this means, which people will probably do anyway, but like getting it in their minds that they could do whatever they want with a generation. I think yeah, it's cool.
Blow up the moon.
What if you blew it up? What if you blew up your whole town? And now what? Tell me.
Now what?
Now what?
Now what? Do you start over? Do you blow up someone else? Do you blow up a second town? There's a lot of choices.
Do you just quit? You never play again?
You're always playing. Grasping Nettles, that's the tagline. You're always playing.
You're always playing. You never stop.
Oh shit. It's gray outside. It's been snowing here.
Yeah, we haven't quite hit the snow zone, but it has been cold. And it's been cold, and this is the first, because we moved to this apartment in the summer, and so we haven't seen if it gets cold here inside.
Oh no.
It does.
Oh no.
I'll tell you, we haven't gone below freezing, and it's just been cold all week. Very annoying.
It's those old Victorian homes.
It's those old Victorian homes that some dickhead put the worst windows possible into. I think it's that combo.
The tiny door. Adam, have you opened the tiny door?
I have not. There's a tiny door.
Do it.
There's a tiny door behind my toilet that's like landlord painted off. And I don't know what's in it. Because it's not the pipes. I know it's not the pipes because it's the same toilet that's in the other bathroom, and it's just wall behind it. It's a mystery. Maybe it has a heater in it, says Jason. That'd be great. We have one space heater, and so if you don't get to it first, your room's gonna be cold. Well, there's
Oh God.
there's central heating too, but like feels like too much sometimes to go above.
I
Like
love that you two just fight.
it's not a fight. It's just like, oh, I'm not gonna take this. Like you're cozy in here. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna decose your space just because I can put a sweater on.
If it came down to it, I know whose side I would be on.
Huh.
Huh.
Go ahead. Continue. Are you gonna elaborate?
No,
on
that's
that?
it.
Okay.
I just know whose side I would be on.
That's for me to find out in the future, maybe.
You already know.
All right. What do we want to talk about today?
Yeah. Do you want to get into the thing?
Well, here, let's jump to this one real quick.
Sure.
And just because we've both now talked about games that are a work in progress, and it's speaking to this like this yearning that I get sometimes that I just wish my games were all of the games that I'm working on weren't done and out there. Do you get this?
Yeah. I've been working on a version of Umbral Dive for what is it, 4 or 5 months now?
Mm-hmm.
I have so many words, and I don't even feel like I don't even have a quick start. I want a quick start. I've been working on the quick start for 5 months now.
Right. Yeah, and you just I just want it to be out there. It's a weird feeling because it's like if I see somebody saying like, "Oh, I wish there was a game that did this," and it's like I'm working on one. Why can't I just recommend mine? Because we're in the future now and it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's nothing super interesting to talk about there, but it's just a deep feeling that I get sometimes of like, damn it, it takes work to do all this.
I don't have a single game
Mm-hmm.
out, period.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like that hurts my credibility as a person who has been learning about game design for, oh my God. I just realized today for the first time that it's going to be the anniversary of the podcast soon, like in a month. Yeah. You were the first episode on December 16th.
That's 1 month from now.
That's 1 month from now.
Here's what I'll say about that.
Hit me with it.
I would say that might be true if it wasn't clear that you know what you're talking about. But like as soon as you start talking about game design, like it's obvious that you have, you've got the knack for it. You know what you're talking about. You just showed some cool grid shit. Like it just takes a while to finish something. But if it had been a year since you started your podcast and then about learning how to be a game designer, and then you hop on this show and start showing your work of progress, and it's just some dumpster of a game.
What would a dumpster of a game look like, Adam?
It's hard to say. You know when you see it. But
you
I don't
know when
it.
you would see it, right?
It's just bad idea after bad idea.
Open up the file. Oh God.
But instead what we get is like, yeah, you're clearly doing big thoughts. So any potential credibility hit from you not having a finished published game, get that out of here.
I thought well, to remain on the topic, that is, do you have the feeling of like just wanting to get the thing out there? Yes, for sure. And every day, literally every day, I would love to share my love for tactical RPGs with people.
Yeah.
I need it. More grids. Not enough grids in the indie space.
Hey, it's coming. Scene Quest 2022. Tactical storytelling engine. It's got grids. It's got thoughts. It's gonna have maybe a screen printed bag that comes in.
Ooh.
That's the bagged set.
We love playing with materials.
We love it. Just have to immediately start thinking about it. All right, what else we got? Now
got
that
the
we've
other
got that out of
thing.
the way, hmm?
We got the other thing. The
The
discoursey thing.
it's not
That's a
discoursey.
conversation.
I didn't know that it was related. I didn't know that there was something like this out there. I'm immune to seeing discourse on Twitter, but
I'm immune to being affected by discourse on
mm,
Twitter. I see it all the time, though.
I just
Too
don't see
many
it.
TTRPG hashtags rolling
Look,
around out there.
I'm immune to being affected by it, but as soon as I see anybody put any bad take that makes me roll my eyes across my feed, I just unfollow or mute. And it has nothing to do with liking any person or not. If you send some stuff that makes me roll my eyes across my feed, I probably I can't deal with it. I don't want to get on Twitter and just roll my eyes all day. I want to get on and see cool stuff. You know
It's
what
a
I mean?
curated
It's
experience.
a
That's what you
curated
want to use.
experience.
Yeah, that's what you want to use Twitter for.
I don't want to be on the app and dying inside because everything's awful. Which is
I'm. Mm?
that's just the natural state of using Twitter, I think.
I'm not gonna point any names or go into the tweet. For some of you may who are in the audience may know, but I would refrain from mentioning the person if that's possible. But the conversation was sort of about like what games are good to onboard a new player, and this particular person felt like indie games were not the answer because they're so simplified in their mechanics that it requires such heavy lifting from the players at the table. So it's hard for them to work around, I don't know, executing role playing, like what can I do with this, things of that nature, and argued that D&D 5th edition was kind of the better choice for onboarding a
Yeah,
new player to the tabletop role playing
bog
sphere.
bog them down with intimidating, shitty mechanics until they can't think anymore. I
I think that's relative, right? I think that's there are people who find it fun.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
But
I
that's
can't say
because
that I am one of those people.
here's the thing: role
Um,
playing. This we can jump off here if you want. We can talk about this, but if you want to jump off to the thing that I was gonna bring up
oh, it'll
that
give.
is sort of related, I
Uh huh.
found an off ramp here. I've already forgotten it. I found it again. The so I think the reason that D&D could be a good entry game is simply because tabletop role playing is incredibly fun inherently. It's really hard to fuck it up how fun it is to sit around and like roll some dice and tell a story. That's just it starts from a baseline of like this is good and people enjoy this if they allow themselves to get into it. Which brings me sidelines us into the thing that I kind of wanted to chat about or pontificate, which is the fact that at like when you're designing an RPG as opposed to designing a video game or a board game or some other type of game, there is so much more room that you as the designer leave up for the players to make their own fun, and I just find that interesting. Like in a board
Mm-hmm.
game, you have to like you make a set of rules, especially if we're talking like a Euro board game. There's a set of rules, and the players just play exactly with those rules as written, and it curates this like cool experience for them. In RPG, you make a set of rules, and then they use those to reflect back. Like it creates like this feedback loop of players are making their own fun within this funny little sandbox you've set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you try to make an RPG that has too many like rails that aren't like thoughtfully crafted, it could end up like kind of getting in the way. So it's not even
Stifling, one might say.
so this isn't saying like it's easier to design an RPG because players make their own fun. It's like that's part of the design challenge is you are leaving space for the players to like step in and do their own thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I only brought it up to swivel the context, to redirect, if you will, to talk about like uh, what is the new player experience, right? Like what it's also relative and unique to the person or the combination of people's at the table, in terms of how, I've been playing video games and games period since I was 4 years old. My first video game was Yoshi's Cookies for the Nintendo. So
Yoshi's cookies.
kind of like the off ramp of Tetris. Are you looking up Yoshi's Cookies right now?
Yoshi's
Uh,
cookies.
Yoshi's Cookies, dude. Also,
Ah,
fucking, what is it? Kirby's Dream Course. Fucking, what is that Kirby Tetris one? I don't remember. Someone will say it in the chat, I'm sure.
mm,
But I've been engaging with high cognitive load games for forever, and then RPGs, and I also love like puzzle mobile games. I used to play this game called uh the box or something like that. It was like this manipulation puzzle where you had to like keep going around the box to find like the right nooks and crannies and buttons and levers to like unlock the box and get into the next room. Anyways, that's all to say, like, not everyone has that background. Some people may have never touched a game because there was like, at least speaking to the last 30 years of my life, there's like a stigma around it. There's stigma around D&D and stuff, and people's brains just aren't formulated to that space right away, and it takes a little time to like work out that brain muscle.
mm,
And so I think a lot of the time, uh there are different ways to approach like how someone feels about a game, and I don't want to dismiss any ideas about like what is a game or what isn't a game, or like how do you engage and play and things like that. Those are all like constant, very like philosophical and artistic questions that are constantly answered in different angles. But when thinking about the new player experience, where like I think about like what are the toughest things for a new player to get engaged with, right? Do they understand what they're capable of? I actually thought about this with Grace a few, like 2 months ago. I talked about how um, role playing games are essentially improv with rules, and like if improv was the game and you're like having the conversation about the play space, playing a game and a role playing game is like setting rules on top of that. You can only improv this way. And then we talked about like you should get little achievements whenever you complete something like that. Like I improved using Band of Blades. I played all the mechanisms that the game offered towards me. um Truly should be an achievement. But
yeah, that's a lot of
I
mechanisms.
it's a lot of mechanisms. Uh, but I think about like what are like when I think about even my own tactical game, like how am I going to teach someone? Because I think something we often, maybe not we, the collective we, and maybe not often, but I think something that goes missed sometimes. I have to like pedal back because I know a lot of smart people, like a ton of smart designers that think that we have conversations about this stuff all the time, but I can't speak for everyone who will watch the show. But like, um what does it look like when you have a group of 5 people at a table and only one person bought the book,
Mm,
right? That person that bought the book now has to parse that information verbally to 4 other people, or let them borrow the book, or
mm,
they have to buy the book themselves, which like is not traditionally the way that people engage with the game. Like not everyone who's sitting at a table is going to buy a copy of Grasping Nettles, right? Like for every one person that buys, there'll be 4 players or
mm.
whatever. Um, so that person you have to write your game or reference document or software in such a way that you're able to easily parse it out to 3 people. And that's still a cognitive load and relative to the person who's reading it, right? Like when I first ran D&D 5 or 6 years ago, it was a matter of like coming to grips with the system. I fell into like a very railroady sort of like by the rules GMing style because like I want to play the game,
Right.
and that caused a lot of friction between some of my players who are a little bit more like exploratory, like why can't
Mm,
I do this or why can't I do that? I was like, well, there's no rule for it, so I don't know how to parse that out, or I don't know how to flex my DC levels or whatever. um
yeah. So
and yeah.
I think there are a couple of different new player experiences that we're talking about. So you're describing the new player experience of nobody had played, right?
Right. Right.
there's the new player experience of like one person plays these games and is introducing other people, which
Yeah.
arguably that's like the easiest way to get in. Is if I call somebody over and I point them at the shelf of RPGs and like, let's do one of these. And then I know that I, as a seasoned gamer,
Exactly.
can curate the experience and bring them in and make them comfortable and know what they're doing. But that's kind of leaving it up to the seasoned person. So I'm not as worried about that. But the one that you're talking about, the everybody is new. That's where it's baffling to me to think that D&D is best for that, because like you in your railroady thing, like when you said that you fell into railroading, that is kind of what the game implies that you should do. Or there's no, I mean, the DMG, maybe it says in the DMG don't be a railroading prick, but nobody can.
I do want to side note here that railroading gets a bad rap. I totally think there's a place for like railroading, but I was doing the bad version where like the players were not allowed to make narrative changing choices.
You're playing in my game.
Yeah, exactly. Even if I didn't think that at the time, I was like, I'm not doing that. I was super doing it.
But a lot of so if you talk about GM'd games, a lot of them in like, you know, a PBTA game or whatever, they all have these principles laid out that are like, this is, you should have a conversation with each other. That's what the game is. It's not you say what happens and then they flail around and react. It's you all collectively, and it provides these principles and this framework for a GM, especially somebody new, that like feels like it supports a better first experience to me. Because it's just from the very nature of it's something that has been thought about. I don't know that, and this isn't necessarily a mark on D&D, but I don't know that anybody involved in creating D&D has really thought about it being hard to start playing this game in decades, if ever. Probably never. Because it's the popular one, it's the one everybody's heard about. You know, you don't need to worry about like recruiting these new people, and so you don't need to build that into your system that these new people can hop in, because they're gonna hop in. If somebody wants to play D&D, they're gonna just play it, and it might be what you described for a little while. It might be kind of a mess, but it's still fun. It's still just inherently fun.
And it's also like D&D is such like an oral tradition game in that there's so much homebrew out there. Anything can be recontextualized to be D&D spaced. And even if someone like it's that, what is that called? Ship of Theseus or something like that. Like, if you replace every part on the boat, how long is it the same? Like, how long until it's not the same boat anymore? D&D is very much that in the
that,
D&D of Theseus. D&D of Theseus. You know, like I changed homebrew subclasses, making my own monsters, making my own campaign setting, changing out how the action economy works, adding new conditions to the game, adding a stress mechanic. Like, all those things drastically change the game, and you know, that is part of, I think D&D gets talked about as a great game to introduce with new players is because, one, it's the same as like the difference of a language in the world, right? So many people like either have to learn or will learn English at some point. So it's so easy to like, D&D is like the English of tabletop role-playing games. It's a really, and it's like coupling that it's probably not a good thing. But I mean, you know, it's really easy to like go to a friendly local game store and play D&D 5th edition if you're interested, right? Whereas like if I'm trying to play Blades in the Dark, there's a really good chance that no one knows what the fuck I'm talking about when I walk into a friendly local game store.
With Blades in particular, that is becoming less true, which is interesting.
Correct,
to see.
yeah.
But if you went in and tried to play fucking any other game.
Any other non-PBTA related game.
If you went in and tried to play No Stone Unturned, everybody would be like, what is that? That doesn't seem real. As far as I know,
doesn't seem good. It's not D&D.
I don't know, and that's fine. It's tough to try new things. This is the same with board games. Like there are people that just play Catan, and that's fine. You know, if you can have
Yeah.
fun with it, I that's what makes that's what led me to getting into all these games. Is I'm the kind of person that wants to try new games. What's up?
Williams, the idiot Theseus. Do you mean Aegon? Oh God.
But
Just great. Love having y'all in the chat, not gonna lie.
I think I think D&D is the best intro game for people who want to learn how to play D&D. It's as simple as that. Like there's no best intro game. That's silly. That's a goofy fucking concept. D&D trains you to play role-playing games in a certain way, and it's the way that that game wants you to play. And if that is your metric for what makes for making it a good intro game is that it teaches you to play D&D well, then I could see why you land on that. I don't know exactly how. I didn't see any of this conversation, so I don't know what the actual points are.
Yeah,
or,
it's
or
not. I don't
it's
think it's
about.
important. I think it's just a good thing to spark about like the conversation of like onboarding, the conversation of like what are your design principles as you're writing the game and who are you writing the game for, right? Like as I write Umbral Dive, I'm writing a heavily tactical like war game single unit situation and like that is not at least my intuitions lead me to believe that that's not like an easily accessible thing in the I feel like it's not an easily accessible thing in the indie market because I feel like a lot of it is very like story narrative driven in their design principles, and a lot of people think heavily about the role playing, where I'm thinking very heavily about the game, like the number generation and things like that, and positioning and all this stuff, like very chess style thinking. And I where was I going with this? My brain is so fast. And like I think about like what does my onboarding look like? Like do I do a tutorial adventure where like if you're new to this game, run this thing exactly as I'm showing you, like let everyone at the table know that like, hey, we're gonna do this for 45 minutes just so we all get a grasp of like what's going on here, right? And then how do I inject the role play into that sort of after the fact?
So I think this could go into the accessibility or approachability. I think is the word I would rather use because accessibility is a whole other thing. The approachability of a game like Umbral Dive, I think, can go back to what MV said when you were talking about something that like that's true of board games. It really relies on if the person that one person that read the rule book, whenever you make it and release it, if they are good at reading board game rule books, they're probably going to be fine to play Umbral Dive and facilitate it. But if they're not that, if they're just like random person off the street, it might be a little confusing because they don't have this framework in their brain for understanding game mechanics. But like as somebody who has played hundreds of board games and for I would guess 90% of them been the person that read the rulebook and then taught the game from nothing, like I'll be able to figure out Umbral Dive and play it. But a simpler game, I feel like more simple games will allow more people to play it and get it right. I think anybody can play it because people are, broadly speaking, people are smart. And people can read. And like, looks like my camera just went down. That's fun.
Yes, it's loading.
We coming back?
Shout out to Aaron King who turned me on to D&D 4th edition, which I have several PDFs for now. Umbral Dive does take a lot of inspiration from that. But to sort of like the back half of that conversation is like the other thing to consider is that what if my game is not for the new player, and can I be okay with that, right? Because what if Umbral Dive is a game that is designed for the person who loves D&D 4th edition, who loves Warhammer, who loves fucking D&D 5th edition, like anything with a battle mat, right? It's for people who like Into the Breach video game. It's for people who like MMOs. So like there's something to consider for like, do I want to care about the new player demographic? For sure. There's like no question about that. But some of the first people I played D&D 5e with were come from video game backgrounds. So they were also thinking about like, oh, this role-playing game is like Divinity Original Sin 2, is like Diablo, is like World of Warcraft. Like that, those were their touchstones for transition into it. And it sort of was that, but there's a lot more role-playing they were used to. There were definitely people who like skipped cinematic scenes, and I just can't understand it because I love looking at the story, but that was their background. So like, do I have to care about the new player? I don't know.
I don't think you have to, but I think it's important to acknowledge that you're not.
Yeah.
Probably.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Every game does not have to be for every person's taste. I think it's important to say taste there, because it should be, I'm not saying make fucking shitty games about being fascist and just say,
about Grimdark.
It's not for everyone. No, not that. But like, Grimdark isn't to my taste. Sure. I'm thinking too hard. But it doesn't have to appeal to everybody, and that's fine. Even though it'd be great if it did. It'd be great if everybody... No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be great if everybody liked the same thing, because that would be weird and boring and hard to create for. You would have to create just the one thing instead of making some wild grid-based homage to Final Fantasy 14?
14 out of 16 and many spin-offs.
Because that's
it's a great game. I'm playing it now. I'm getting ready for Endwalker. If anyone out there in chat or watching this later is fucking playing Final Fantasy 14, hit me up. Crystal Data Server, East Side. I'm gonna be tanking this fucking expansion.
So I think this will bring. Well, we've been going.
Yeah, we're talking. We love each other.
But I think an interesting thing to think about also is back to my thoughts about like it trains you to be good at playing D&D. The easiest people I've taught in the situation of new player being taught by seasoned gamer. The new people that have never touched D&D, so much easier to get into playing a Fiasco, a Grasping Nettles, this, that, or the other thing, because they just don't have this like, this mechanical brain framework of what they can and can't do. They're just like, I can jump in and tell a story. I can jump in and just start doing whatever I want because I don't have this notion that I can't do certain things. Whereas somebody who is used to having a limited narrative responsibility, narrative agency, somebody's used to having like the limited narrative agency of a trad game is gonna feel a little bit more tepid, like branching out in a GMless game, because they're like, this isn't where I am. This isn't what I'm allowed to do. And it's like, that's true in some games, and it's fine that that's true in some games, but it's so much harder to teach those people that it's not true in this game. Which I've always found interesting.
One moment in my D&D GMing career that I'll never forget, that I feel bad about to this day, is that I had a first-time player, and they're playing a ranger, and they're like very much imagining like the Legolas fucking multi-arrow shooting badassery, but they were level like 2 or something, like level 2 or 3.
Right.
And so we entered a combat, and they're like, okay, I want to shoot 3 arrows at this thing. It's like, okay, so it's 1 attack. And she was like, but I wanted to shoot 3 arrows. I was like, yes, but the game
you're not
mechanically
allowed.
only carry, like, you're not allowed yet. And
Gary says no.
I felt a sink because I felt the disconnect happen for her, right? Like I could see it sort of in her eyes, like, oh, so I can't role play the way I envisioned, right? Like that's the
thing, is that you still could right?
Later on I would learn that you could flavor something any way you want and have it resolved mechanically, yes,
but it provides no guidance. There's nothing that like implies that, there's nothing that pushes you there. And like I bet I bet there's people out there that will be like, no, you didn't shoot 3 arrows. It says you shoot 1. Even though, like, just roll the dice that you would roll, and then,
Yeah.
it still works.
Oh, I felt so bad.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm a better person now for sure, but it was definitely a learning curve for me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have anyone to teach me how to play D&D, right. So
yeah, you were the full new player.
Playing games.
Right.
Full new player fucking figuring out, and I read the books.
I fucking read the 5th edition DMG. God damn it.
I tried. It's just so everywhere. It's an impressive book, I gotta say.
It's a great
It's wild to just be so all over the place and so useless. And yet so sold.
So sold, the whole package. People don't realize that D&D is at base $150 game. And they want to fucking yell at people for charging $25 for their PDFs. It makes me want to vomit, dude.
It's $100.
All right.
You buy the Monster Manual, you buy the DMG, and you buy the Player's Handbook.
And don't even consider when you buy a Player's Handbook for everyone, because no one wants to share the single Player's Handbook. Table of 4 players, boom, that's another $150. It's goddamn $300 for D&D 5th edition.
Well,
we'll talk about pricing next time.
Maybe. The Twitterification of the Tabletop Call-In Show. Oh, shit. All right. Should we wrap it? Should we call it there?
I think it's time. We're 10 minutes over. We gave people bonus content here.
Bonus content.
Like, subscribe, follow.
This is this patrons only content right here.
Put it in the tip jar. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Oh, you sign out.
Okay.
Liquid oil down the wrong pipe. Sorry, I do that every day because I'm fucking useless.
Thank you, everyone, for being here at the Tabletop Call-In Show. Once again, thank you, everyone in chat who's been engaging with each other and us throughout the show. I've been Jeremy Gage. You can find me at JeremyGage5 over on Twitter. You can listen to the Draw Your Dice podcast for more great discourse content with beautiful designers like Adam and people who've been in the chat like Will Yopes and Eli Seitz and MV and Aaron King. We're going to get you on here. I swear to God, it's long overdue. We're going to schedule it today, in fact. And I make that promise on the internet. And who have you been, Adam?
I've been Adam Bell, host of the Tabletop Call-In Show. So I've been Adam Bell. You can find me on Twitter at Adam E. Bell. Follow the show at Tabletop Call-In. I should probably put that on the screen. That's where we announce when we're doing the show, which is every Monday at 11 a.m. now. But follow it. It's good. Mm-hmm. Subscribe here. If you haven't follow, is it follow? Which one's the free one? Whichever one's the free one, do that here on Twitch. Follow. And then I have to do some more streaming so that I can get the subscribe button because they make you work for it. So look out for that. I don't know. Maybe on Wednesday I'm going to do something because I'm going to be bored. So if you have any ideas on what I should stream, shout at me at Adam E. Bell on Twitter. And then, go there and find the pre-order link for Grasping Nettles if you haven't already reserved your copy. Those should hopefully be printing this month and sending out, and you could play it around your Christmas tree while you're drinking your eggnog and being jolly and having a nice time with your whoever you decide.
Loved ones.
Yes.
Your loved ones.
Your loved ones.
Whoever you decide.
All right.
Walking to a goddamn Barnes & Noble. Sit down. We're playing this shit.
Hey, who wants to play? Hey, maybe you could walk to your friendly local game store and break free from the mold of only playing D&D there. Maybe I could talk to my friendly local game store and see if they want to do a release event. I don't know. I got thoughts. I want to sell my game.
Yeah, trying to do Blood on the Clock Tower at my friendly local game store.
I've got somebody... Shit, we shouldn't start talking about Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yeah, okay.
I almost just jumped right into it. We will see you all later. Thank you for coming. Goodbye. Talk to you next week.